picture this. You're reading an article or maybe an email from a colleague, and you come across a word you've never actually seen before.
Oh, yeah. That happens to me all the time.
Right. So you want to know how to actually say it out loud, so you look it up in a dictionary. And right next to the word, tucked inside those little brackets, is a string of just the most intimidating, unreadable symbols you've ever seen.
Oh, it's awful.
You've got like upside down E's, an A and an E literally smashed together, maybe a random colon just floating in there. I mean, it looks less like a helpful pronunciation guide and more like an ancient, undecipherable secret code.
Yeah, you were looking at the International Phonetic Alphabet, right? The IPA.
Yes, exactly.
And honestly, for a lot of people, just opening up a dictionary and seeing that string of symbols is enough to make them completely close the tab and give up entirely.
Totally. It feels so academic.
It does. It gives this impression that you need, I don't know, a master's degree in linguistics just to figure out how to say the word comfortable without embarrassing yourself in a meeting.
It is incredibly intimidating. But what if you didn't need to decode all those ancient runes? What if there was a way to master the core sounds of American English, all 45 of them, actually without ever needing to memorize a single phonetic symbol?
Now, that is a huge promise.
It is, but that is the exact mission of our deep dive today. We are looking at this really brilliant breakdown from language educator Chen Lily, and she proposes this massive shortcut for learners.
It's a really fascinating source, yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because we aren't going to do a dry grammar lesson today. We are going to look at English pronunciation as a physical, almost mechanical process.
Right.
It's about what your jaw, your tongue, and your throat are actually doing in three-dimensional space.
Which is such a necessary shift in perspective, you know?
Yeah.
Because if you are learning the language, getting bogged down in rigid phonetic classifications, it can actually be counterproductive.
How so?
Well, the symbols often vary anyway, right? Depending on the region, the specific dialect, or even just the textbook you happen to be using.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, so having a practical rule-based compass, an actual physical map of what your mouth should be doing is just infinitely more valuable. It empowers you to physically produce the sounds rather than just theorize about them on a chalkboard.
I love that. And I want to get right into that physical map because, before we can run, we have to walk.
Exactly.
According to the source material, the foundational building block of English pronunciation relies on this little architectural blueprint called the CVC structure.
The consonant-vowel-consonant structure.
Right. When a vowel gets trapped between two consonants like that, it becomes what we call a short vowel.
And it really is the most reliable starting point.
Yes.
We have 5 main vowels.
Right.
A, E, I, O.
Yeah.
And when they sit inside that CVC box, they behave in very specific physical ways.
Okay.
But rather than just walking down the alphabet, it's actually much more helpful to look at the physical extremes of what your face is doing.
Oh, I like that.
Let's look at the short A. So words like cat, bad, dad, fat, hat. The source refers to this as the butterfly sound.
The butterfly sound.
Yeah, which perfectly describes the mechanics of it.
If you are listening to this right now, I actually want you to try it. To make that short A sound correctly, you have to physically pull the corners of your mouth back.
Right, almost like a forced smile.
Yeah, like you're being forced to smile for a really awkward, terrible school picture. Just, get. You can actually feel the tension in your cheeks and the sides of your neck. It requires a lot of lateral stretching.
It does. And that physical tension is exactly where a lot of learners stumble, actually.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Native Chinese speakers, for instance, frequently fall into a really specific pitfall here. Because that extreme wide stretch doesn't exist in the same way in their native phonetic system.
Ah, okay.
So they often substitute it with the bopomorpho ease sound, which is much narrower.
So they don't stretch enough.
Exactly. So instead of that wide, tense, smiling apple, they default to a much more relaxed apple.
Wow, okay.
And without the physical stretch, the acoustic quality of the vowel changes entirely. It immediately flags to a listener that the pronunciation is just slightly off.
Okay, so if the short A is all about lateral tension at the front of the face, what is the mechanical opposite of that? Like, where do we go from there?
The opposite would be dropping the sound deep into the back of the throat and releasing that tension entirely.
Okay.
We see this a lot with the short O and the short I. Let's take the short O first. So words like hot, pot, lot, top, dog.
Right.
A really common assumption is that a short O just sounds like a quick version of the letter O. But mechanically, your mouth needs to open up into something much closer to an ah sound.
Wait, really? An ah sound?
Yeah, but here is the trick. Unlike a front of the mouth ah, This short O resonates way down in the pharynx. The back of the tongue drops.
Okay, let me try that. Hot.
Exactly. If you bring that resonance too far forward into the mouth, the word hot sounds completely unnatural.
That makes total sense. And the same goes for the short I, right? Words like sit, bit, hit, lip. It feels like the sound originates right at the top of the throat, and it's incredibly fast. Like, my jaw barely moves at all when I say sit.
Right. Your tongue stays relatively high, but the duration of the sound is actually what matters most here. And that brings up a crucial mechanic of American English.
Okay, what's that?
Well, the source gives a set of contrasts to illustrate this. Sit versus seat, ship versus sheep, and dip versus deep.
Okay.
The physical placement of the tongue and the duration of the airflow are the only things differentiating those words.
Actually, let me pause you there, because trying this out, I'm noticing something kind of weird.
What's that?
If I take that short back of the throat sit and I just stretch the sound out, like if I just hold it for an extra half second, my mouth naturally wants to move forward and suddenly sit literally becomes seat.
Yes.
So is pronunciation actually just as much about the timing of the airflow as it is about the shape of the mouth?
Absolutely. Timing is the hidden variable that dictates meaning. The contrast between short and long durations isn't just a stylistic flourish, you know? It is structural.
That is so interesting.
If you hold the short I too long, you inadvertently shift the physical placement of your tongue. The vowel transforms, and you are suddenly talking about a sheep instead of a ship.
Which is a very different sentence.
Right. If your timing is off, your meaning is off.
That makes the CVC box feel very precarious, honestly.
It is a delicate balance.
You have these tight, short vowels, the wide butterflies, the deep throat drops, but the margins for error are tiny.
Very tiny.
So what happens to that physical architecture when we tweak the formula? Let's say we have our CVC box, but we add one single letter to the end of the word.
Ah, the magic E.
Yes. This brings us to what the source calls the magic E rule, and I just love the mechanics of this.
It is arguably one of the most reliable rules in English spelling. And it completely rewrites the physical instructions for the mouth.
It really does.
The rule is simple, right? You have your CVC structure, and you add the letter E to the end.
I always think of the magic E as a very demanding movie director who never actually appears on camera.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. It sits silently at the end of the word, doing absolutely no talking itself. But it points a megaphone directly at the star vowel in the middle of the word and yells, "Introduce yourself. Say your name."
Yes.
It forces the short, trapped vowel to become a long vowel and literally speak its alphabetical name.
The silent E dictates the action of the middle vowel. But there is a mechanical nuance to saying its name that is incredibly important, and a lot of people miss it.
Oh.
When we tell a learner to say the letter's name, we often fail to mention that doing so requires what linguists call gliding, or creating a diphthong.
Gliding.
Yeah, you aren't just locking your jaw into one static position. Your mouth is actively gliding from one shape into another while the air is flowing.
Okay, let's test that out physically. So if we look at the letter A, the magic E makes it say its name. So a word like cape or cake, you aren't just making a flat sound. You are actively gliding through two sounds. E.
Exactly.
Your jaw actually moves upward as you say it, like cake.
Precisely. You begin with an open position and glide up to a closed position. For the letter E in a word like Pete, it sounds very similar to the Chinese word for close, E.
Okay.
For the letter I in a word like, your mouth glides through an A movement, starting wide and closing up.
Right, like.
And for O in note, you glide through an ow shape, literally rounding your lips at the end of the sound.
But then there's the letter U.
Ah, the rabbi.
It seems like the letter U always has to be the difficult one. In the magic E structure, it usually says U, like in the word cute.
Right.
You can feel the Y sound right at the front of the palate, but sometimes that Y sound vanishes completely and it's just a straight U sound, like in the word flute.
Yeah, the letter U is certainly the rebel of the vowel family.
Why does it do that?
Well, historically, dialects have just shifted. And in American English, dropping that yi glide after certain consonants like the il in flute or the r in rule just became the mechanical standard because it was easier for the tongue.
Just laziness, basically.
Pretty much. But despite the U's rebellion, the sheer power of the magic E is best demonstrated by playing what the source calls the one-letter difference game.
Oh, let's do it.
It perfectly highlights how one silent letter reshapes the entire architecture of your mouth.
Okay, I want you, listening to this right now, to try and experiment with your own jaw. Say the word tap. Notice what happens. Tap. You feel that short, wide butterfly A. Your jaw drops, your lips pull back. The sound is really fast. Now add the magic E to the end of the word. Tape.
Wow.
Suddenly your mouth isn't stretched anymore. You are gliding the sound. Your jaw actually closes slightly as you finish the vowel. Tap. Tape.
Now apply that mechanical shift to other vowels. Say mat and feel the short vowel. Then say meat.
Dim, with that quick drop in the throat. Then dime, feeling the jaw sweep upwards.
Cod, with the back of the tongue low. Then code, rounding the lips.
And tub becomes tube.
Exactly.
It's not just a spelling rule. It is literally throwing a switch in your mouth that changes the trajectory of your jaw.
It's fascinating when you break it down like that.
It really is. And the A, E, I, O, U rules are incredibly neat when you lay them out like this. Short vowels live in the closed CVC box, and they stretch out into gliding long vowels when the magic E shows up. But what about the vowels that refuse to follow any of these rules? You know, the messy ones.
Right. We've covered the structural pillars, but now we enter the territory of the secret VIPs of the English language.
The VIPs.
Yeah. And the undisputed king of these special non-conforming vowels is something called the schwa.
The schwa. It sounds like an esoteric concept, but it's really just the A sound in the word about, right?
Yes.
About. So what is the mouth actually doing here mechanically?
Essentially nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Physically, your tongue and your jaw are doing the absolute minimum amount of work possible. It is a very relaxed, incredibly lazy, light sound.
Okay.
It's situated right in the dead center of your mouth.
Yeah.
The tongue isn't pulling back. It isn't pushing forward. The lips aren't rounded or stretched. It is just total facial neutrality.
It's the sound you make when you've just woken up from a nap and someone asks you a complicated math question. Just,
Exactly. It's a perfect way to describe it.
But here's where I get confused. If the schwa is so lazy and it's basically just a neutral grunt, why doesn't spoken English just devolve into a constant stream of unintelligible noises?
That's a great question.
Like, how do we distinguish words if everything is just turning into an
That is the paradox of the schwa. Because despite being the laziest sound your mouth can produce, it is by far the most frequently occurring sound in the entire English language.
Really?
By far. And the reason English doesn't devolve into pure grunting is because of contrast. Yet English is a stress-timed language.
Hey.
If every single syllable in a sentence is fully enunciated with a perfect short or long vowel, you end up sounding like a robot.
Oh, right. You'd sound incredibly choppy. Every word would hit like a hammer.
Exactly. To make the important stressed syllables stand out, the unstressed syllables around them have to shrink. They literally devolve into that lazy sound.
I see.
The schwa creates the linguistic valors so that the stressed peaks can stand out. This is why the schwa is actually a listener's best friend.
Oh, that makes sense.
When you're listening to native speakers, they do not perfectly enunciate every syllable. Natural, fast-paced speech relies entirely on the schwa to keep the rhythm flowing.
That reframes the whole concept for me. The schwa isn't a mistake. It's the glue holding the fast words together.
Exactly.
If you train your ear to recognize that lazy, neutral sound, you basically unlock the ability to decode rapid, everyday conversation.
You do?
You stop expecting textbook perfection and you start hearing the actual acoustic rhythm of the language.
It's a massive leap for a learner. Once you accept the schwa, you stop panicking when a speaker swallows half the vowels in a sentence.
Which we do all the time.
All the time.
There are a few other special characters mentioned in the source, too.
Right.
Like the ooh sound, where the lips push out tightly, like in book, look, and put.
Yep.
The rolled sound, where the tongue curls back, like in bird, hurt, and learn. The oi and boy or coin, and the ow and bow or down.
Those are all important, yeah.
But if we pull back for a second, we've talked entirely about vowels so far.
We have?
And vowels are really just about keeping the airway open and changing the shape of the container.
Right.
But how do we actually chop those sounds up into distinct words? That requires hitting the brakes. It requires creating friction with our teeth, our lips, and our tongue. And that brings us to the consonants.
Yes. Consonants provide the hard boundaries. And most of them are pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Like a B requires you to pop your lips together. An F requires you to rest your top teeth on your bottom lip. But some consonants are complete chameleons. They change their mechanical identity entirely based on where they sit in a word, and this is where friction gets complicated.
Let's bypass the obvious ones like C sounding like a K in candy or an S in cell. I want to talk about the letter L.
Ah, the L.
Because until I read this source, I honestly had no idea the letter L possessed two entirely different mechanical personalities.
It is a phenomenal example of invisible mechanics.
Hmm.
Linguists divide it into the clear L and the dark L.
Okay, tell me about the clear L.
A clear L usually sits at the start of a word, like love or light.
Mm.
Mechanically, it's very crisp. The tip of your tongue pushes firmly against the bony ridge right behind your upper front teeth.
Okay, let me try. Love. Yeah, I can feel the tip of the tongue flicking off the roof of the mouth. But what happens when that L moves to the end of a word?
That's when it becomes the dark L, like in the word ball or full.
Mm.
Mechanically, your mouth is doing something totally different. Yeah, the tip of your tongue actually drops down, and the back of your tongue raises up toward the soft palate at the back of your throat. It creates a much heavier, hollower sound.
Ball.
Wow.
The tip of the tongue isn't even touching the teeth.
Exactly.
The back of the tongue is doing all the heavy lifting to stop the air. It's a totally different physical mechanism, but it uses the exact same letter. That is wild.
It is.
But I think the biggest chameleon of all, especially if we are focusing on American English, has to be the flap T.
Oh, the flap T is a defining characteristic of the American accent.
Right.
When a T sits in the middle of a word, sandwiched between two vowels, like in the word butter or water, an American speaker rarely pronounces a crisp, sharp T.
No, we don't say water.
Stopping the airflow completely just takes too much effort.
It's like skipping a stone across water. Your tongue just briefly bounces off the roof of your mouth to save momentum, rather than coming to a full, sharp stop.
That's exactly what it is.
So instead of a hard butter, we voice it. The vocal cords stay engaged, and the sound drops down to sound almost exactly like a D. Butter. Water.
It maintains the acoustic flow of the sentence perfectly. And we see similar complexity when consonants combine, too.
Like what?
The V sound, for example, it is actually two distinct physical actions.
Wait, really?
Yeah, there's the unvoiced the,
Mhm.
where your vocal cords don't vibrate at all, like in the word think.
Mm-hmm.
It is just pure air pushing over the tongue and between the teeth.
Think. Okay.
But then there is the voice th, where you actively engage your vocal cords to create a buzz in your throat, like in the words this or that.
Wow. And then you add in the cheech and chair, the she and ship, and that nasal ing sound that hums right up in your nasal cavity like in sing or ring. I mean, it is an overwhelming amount of mechanics to keep track of.
It is a lot.
You are asking a learner to monitor their tongue placement, vocal cord vibration, jaw width, and invisible glides all at the same time. How on earth does someone actually practice this?
It's tough.
Because you can't just stare into a bathroom mirror and hope you're executing a dark L correctly.
You can't, because you can't see the back of your tongue. And relying solely on your own ears is notoriously unreliable when you're learning a new language.
Right.
This is why the source material highlights a really cool technological solution to monitor these micromechanics.
The ELSA Speak app.
Yes, it uses artificial intelligence to analyze the specific frequencies of your speech and map them to physical mouth placements.
The level of detail in the source's example is really what caught my attention here.
Oh, the drums example.
Yeah. A user was practicing the short U sound, that relaxed center mouth vowel we talked about. They attempted the word drums, but their jaw was just slightly too tight, making the vowel sound a bit more like a short E, so it came out like brums.
Right.
The AI didn't just say wrong. It instantly flagged that specific vowel, graded the pronunciation at 63%, and essentially acted as a physical therapist for the mouth.
It's amazing.
It literally told the user to relax the jaw. And when the user adjusted their mechanics back to that center mouth short U and tried again, the score jumped to 98%.
It just completely removes the guesswork from practice.
Yeah.
But honestly, it goes beyond single word drills too.
Really?
Yeah. The app utilizes AI roleplay to place you in real-life stress-inducing scenarios, like having to complain to a neighbor about loud noise.
Oh, wow.
You aren't just reading a pre-written script. You have to construct responses on the fly and receive immediate granular feedback on your delivery.
See, here is where the technology feels truly disruptive to me. In one of those role-play scenarios, the user said, hopefully we can resolve this soon.
Okay.
The AI analyzed the social context, complaining about noise, and suggested adjusting the grammar and tone to be firmer, changing the phrase to, we will solve this soon.
That's pretty smart.
But then it went a step further. It told the user that to sound more natural and authoritative, the T in the word frustrated needed to be softened. It was actively coaching the flap T in real time.
That is a staggering leap in educational tools.
It really is. I mean, how does this kind of immediate, hyper-specific feedback loop change the traditional model of language learning?
It completely dismantles the passive, repeat after me model of the 20th century classroom.
Completely.
Historically, language learning relied on mimicking a teacher at the front of a room and basically just hoping your ears were sharp enough to catch your own mistakes before they became bad habits.
Which is so hard to
It
do.
was incredibly frustrating because you rarely knew why you sounded wrong. But this technology makes learning entirely active. It isolates the physical mechanics.
Yeah.
It tells you that your tongue placement on a single consonant in a multisyllable word is slightly too tense.
Yeah.
It bridges the gap between knowing the phonetic rule and physically executing it.
It takes all the invisible mechanics we've been talking about today and basically makes them visible.
Exactly.
So we've gone on quite a journey today through the architecture of the human mouth.
We really have.
We started by completely abandoning those terrifying IPA symbols and looking at pronunciation as a physical machine. We explored the closed box of the short CVC vowels, feeling the wide lateral stretch of the butterfly A and the deep, relaxed drop of the back throat O.
We examined the magic E, that silent director forcing vowels to glide and totally change the trajectory of our jaws. And we unpacked the schwa, the lazy, neutral sound that acts as the rhythmic glue for the entire English language.
We chopped up the airflow with the chameleon consonants, feeling the tip of the tongue on a clear L and the back of the tongue on a dark L. And we looked at how AI can just sit in your pocket and correct the exact angle of your tongue in real time.
It's incredible.
But with all of these rules and mechanics, what is the ultimate takeaway a learner should walk away with?
The final piece of advice from the source material is vital here. Do not let the rules paralyze you.
That's a good point.
These 45 sounds, the CVC boxes, the
Yeah.
chameleons, they are a general direction. They are your compass, not a straitjacket. Do not get overly bogged down in rigid phonetic classifications or panic if your butterfly A isn't mathematically perfect. The ultimate goal is active listening and fearless imitation.
Use the compass, but don't forget to actually look at the scenery and speak to people. We've seen today how one silent magic E can completely alter the internal architecture of a word. We've seen how the flat T turns sharp, exhausting consonants into smooth, skipping stones. And we've seen how the single most common sound in the English language, the schwa, is basically the human mouth doing the absolute minimum amount of physical work possible.
Absolutely.
It makes you wonder, if English pronunciation relies so heavily on invisible rules, dropped glides, and lazy shortcuts, how much of the language we speak every day is shaped not by dusty grammar textbooks, but simply by human beings trying to save just a little bit of physical energy as they go about their day? Something to think about next time you find yourself gliding through a sentence.